Hi, I'm Sean, this is Nathan, and we are Barely Tactical. And today we're bringing you, we'll say a little entertaining little bit here called the Top 5 Fudd Facts. Now, for those of you who don't know what a Fudd is, I've got the dictionary here. A Fudd is a gun owner who supports traditional hunting guns but favors gun control for other guns such as handguns or tactical rifles, also known as a bumbling, ill-educated person. It's a meaning that's taken on several meanings over the years.
Yeah. Throughout meme culture, it's expanded, and Fudd Facts are these, we'll say, alternative facts, fake news.
You are fake news, sir.
That the Fudds live and die by, and we've compiled 5 of the heavy hitters.
Yeah, and I'm sure all of you know a Fudd, and if you don't, you probably are the Fudd. But I'm sorry to tell you. But before that, we actually have a little special announcement for you. What is that?
Yeah, so we have a new promo code with from us, Barely Tactical, with S&J Hardware. It's BT Buddies, gets you 15% off site-wide. What does site-wide mean to use?
I have no idea. No, it means everything. So it's
everything.
It's not just body armor this time. It is everything, site-wide.
I'll make that deal. How about you bitch? You make that deal?
I'd make that deal.
I don't blame you. Damn good deal.
They have quite the selection there. They're great people. 15% off is a pretty good promo code.
Pretty substantial. And this is groundbreaking. We're here in the Great White North. This promotion code is good for Canada and the U.S. That's right. The Yankees to the south, you guys get the promotion as well.
Exactly. You can be like us. I don't know if you want to be like yeah. just buy some of their stuff.
Yeah, they're good people. Spend some money.
Yeah, exactly. So, now for what you're here for, the top 5 Fudd Facts. We're starting off strong with number 1, which is, why do you need a semi-auto / tactical rifle? You've probably heard this in the community many times, and this goes back to the literal definition of Fudd before it kind of changed into just that bumbling idiot you know at the gun range. So yeah, they believe that there's never an application to have any kind of tactical or tactical rifle or any kind of semi-automatic, which is wrong. I'm just going to flat out say.
Like, there's multiple reasons to own a firearm. We're preaching to the choir. You guys know better than us. And, people outside of Canada, self-defense, sporting, collecting, just for funsies. Yeah. The Fudd mentality can't comprehend owning guns for any reason other than stacking meat and putting it in the freezer, which has merit. Canada's a country of hunters. We support them. But there is more to life than just stacking antlers.
It's very narrow-minded and like single-track kind of thing. It doesn't make sense to me because it's limiting themselves to just one aspect of firearms ownership, which is fine. I mean, obviously there's a time and there's places in Canada especially where you need a firearm to survive. Like up north, it helps a lot. And putting
trappers, guides, all that kind of stuff.
Maybe there's not a lot of gun clubs up there where you might have, the more fun kind of things. But overall, firearms are fun. They're a tool. They're obviously, very you need to handle with care, we'll say. But they're fun. They're things you buy for yourselves. There's many reasons.
Being in a free society, technically, you don't need that, third burger patty on your Whopper. Do you get it? Yes, because you want it and you need it.
Need is a strong word there.
But needs relative. Why do you need a lifted F-350 Super Duty dually to haul your lunchbox to your accounting job, Jim? Why? It's a free country, free choice. Own what you like. Be happy.
Yeah. I wish our country was a little more freer, but yes, I agree. But
exactly.
Speaking of need, the next one is you're bringing too much or too little rifle / shotgun for the job. Now, this is something you've probably seen in forums where somebody will say, oh, my grandpappy dropped a moose with a 30-30 and '06. And it's like, cool, I'm not bringing a 30-30 to drop a moose. I'm not, you can, but I think you should probably bring a little more gun. And the other side of it too, you're bringing 30-06 for a deer, you're blowing it in half. It's
you're picking up the antlers and the horn.
It's maybe it's a little more than you need, but it's not a hand cannon.
This one's polarizing, and you often get both angles from the same damn guy. 223. Oh, you're here just to wound things. Well, it's been a good friend Simon once said to us, it's good at dropping bipedal mammals in the 200-pound range. I think deer would fall into that bracket.
Yeah.
It's adequate given you use it within its correct usages. And then on the flip side, use a 308. Holy smokes, you're going to disintegrate the thing. Well, then what's the right answer? You tell me what the correct caliber to use is, because none of my choices will ever be correct.
And some of these Fudds, you can tell who they've been listening to. Like, oh, AR-15, oh, it's going to blow things apart. No, nothing's better than my, Mauser 8mm. It's like,
Grandpappy's 300 Win Mag, which he shoots everything on the planet with.
Oh, it's great for small game. It's like, what's left?
Yeah, I drop yotes with it all the time. Drop, pick up, and carry away.
With a bucket. Yeah, so this is one where you kind of hear it from both sides of it. And as you said, sometimes the same people are saying the same day, or, opposite things.
Yeah.
Which just doesn't make sense. So,
yeah.
Yeah.
No matter what you say, you're wrong. It's either too little, too much. Realistically, most full-size rifle cartridges with modern hunting ammo will kill most things. You don't have, as a guy who owns a lot of different calibers, you realistically, there's so much overlap. Mm-hmm. Most will do the job. Obviously, provincial/state/country laws, look into your minimums and maximum calibers for things, but most cartridges will do the job within, the appropriate ranges.
Yeah, we actually, we met somebody at a place where you buy ammunition and firearms who said, oh, I don't like 30-06 or any 30-06 derivatives because they hurt your shoulder and they're too much. And he was kind of giving me grief for having a 270, which I was like, oh.
That's 21 foot-pounds of recoil.
It's kind of a common... I don't know about you guys, but I know a lot of people with 270s. So, but
and I bet that guy uses 3.5-inch turkey shells every fall and doesn't blink.
Well, you have to shoot turkeys with the turkey box because the turkey's on it. You have to, right?
This is facts. If the box doesn't have the picture of the specific animal you're hunting, they'll bounce off. They have a force field. It's not the correct tool for the job.
It's true.
So listen to the Fudds.
It's true. We can take a crayon and draw you on a box. Next we have number 3, which is brand loyalty. Now, this kind of applies in life too, but firearms specifically, you will have those people who just do not get out of their lane when it comes to, I only shoot Browning, guns. If it's not a Browning, it doesn't shoot right, it's a pea shooter and stuff like that. And it's
yeah.
Okay, and I've always wondered where that comes from. I think it's maybe because their first shots, or their dad gave them an old Browning or something like that, and it's this is what I will use for the rest of my life. I cannot change. I cannot adapt.
It's like picking a hockey team or a brand of truck you're going to drive. Once you're locked in, and nothing can change your mind. They can drop 7 lemons in a row, and you're like, oh, they'll come back. We're going to get it this year. There's the Winchester fanboys. If it ain't Smith & Wesson, it's not a real gun.
Yeah.
The Glock tards.
Well, that's the thing.
The Sig Mafia.
Okay, you're making these sound cool. Maybe not Glock tards. But yeah, and it's one of those things where I do understand there are certain gun manufacturers, and sadly in Canada especially, which do not have great reputations. And of course, buyer beware. Read reviews, maybe stay away from some things if you've heard nothing about something or too much about one thing, that's obviously, there's caveats to that. But saying, it has to be a Tikka, otherwise I won't shoot it.
Yeah, if it's not a Winchester Model 70, it's not a real gun. It's make-believe. You've imagined it, you're not even actually hunting.
Yeah, and these people are depriving themselves. I think most of these they're just depriving themselves of the joys of sports shooting, or hey, I'm going to try different things because I'm not stupid. Yeah. But,
variety's the spice of life. How many different brand shotguns, within our cumulative collection, 7, 8 different brands at this point?
It's Ithaca or Ithaca, okay? I'm sorry, that's
the Fudd choice.
Yeah.
If it doesn't bottom feed, it's not for me.
There's a reason these 3 guns are mine up on this wall.
Ejection points are for the millennials.
Yeah, slam fire for the win. I do appreciate slam fire. But yeah, so there's not much else to say about that one. It's just just try something new. Just because the Smith & Wesson guy handed you something and said, these are the best guns ever. You're like, these are the best guns ever. Doesn't mean you can't try something else. So, yeah. Which, speaking of trying something else, number 4, all you need is a good 12 gauge.
Well, there is relative merit to this because we've talked about 12 gauge is the most versatile. You can go down from mini shells that are 5/8 ounce of shot in them, and they're pretty mild. You can give it to a literal child and they can shoot it comfortably.
It's so easy. Even a child can use it, and they do.
Up to your 3.5-inch, Magnum turkey loads. Your rifled slugs, buckshot in whatever variety you want. Stacked washers with a drywall screw in the middle. There's unlimited payloads out there that will probably do most jobs. But there's always, that old timer, my granddad used to shoot moose at 350 yards off his back porch with a single shot 12 gauge. That's the only gun he needed. It might have been the only gun he could afford.
Also, don't. No, I'm not saying it's impossible, but
There's a lot of drop at 100, never mind 300 with a slug.
That's a heavy, yeah.
And especially slugs of yesteryear. Like, you're talking slower, like just a blob of lead hurling through the abyss.
Yeah, but like honestly though, like there's nothing wrong with 12 gauge. As I said, it wouldn't have been on our top 5 apocalypse angry no share time, things to have, because also it's plentiful. You go anywhere and you can find anywhere that sells shotgun shells, hopefully you can find 12 gauge. Like it's just so common.
It is honestly the golden standard. Almost all of my shotguns are 12 gauge.
Yeah.
Like 12 gauge makes sense. It's not the only gun you should ever own though. Shoot a pheasant at 5 yards with a 12 gauge. Probably not a lot of it left.
Like if I was to say, hey, there's a coyote at 300 yards over there. Do you want this 12 gauge with iron sights and a slug? Or do you want this 243 with a 3x9 and all these, bells and whistles? Like, probably not picking the slug at 300 yards. Like, Or say I can't kill a coyote. That's what I'm saying, old man. I'm saying that there's better choices.
It'll kill the coyote and its 12 friends if you could stack them in a line.
Exactly. But if you can hit them. And I love shotguns. There's a reason. I actually have a friend who's taken deer with slugs, at decent ranges and stuff. They're plenty capable, but I just think that this again narrows their focus into. There's so many more applications. This also comes down to if they're you only need a 12 gauge. They're probably the same people who are saying you don't need anything else for defense. You don't, you don't need any of these plastic sissy guns or these Tupperware things. Okay.
They're still smoking the same cigarettes they've been smoking since they're 13. The same brand of beer, and they got real angry. They changed the label once.
Yeah, no, exactly. Which actually already brings us to number 5, which is my granddad used X, also known as just your generation, kind of more or less shitting on us. I think antiquated knowledge has its use, of course, learning things before there was the internet and charts and all that. But I think the inability to adapt and kind of increase their knowledge base and hey, those things that I believed back then, there are better ways to do them now, or maybe they've changed, And
this isn't to debunk and disprove, the Fudd lore of how they did it in yesteryear. I'm sure Grandpa Joe only owned a single shot 12 gauge and he did kill most anything on the planet with it. Bullet technology's changed, hunting equipment's changed.
Yeah.
You don't have to, hop in a canoe, free balling it with a crystal looking into the clouds to find the constellations. GPS exists.
You mean I can get rid of my sextant finally?
You could get rid of your sextant.
Okay.
For travel purposes.
Yeah.
What did he say?
But technology's improved, and it's not to take away from, the more primal way of doing things. It's to improve the user experience. There's nicer scopes.
Yeah.
There's newer, lighter, faster calibers. There's bigger, slower calibers with improved bullet technology, like the Hornady Levolution. You can now have a pointed bullet in a lever gun. Technology's improved.
That's pretty cool.
Oh, that's not how my granddad did it. Well, your granddad didn't have these.
Well, that's the thing. If Grandpa Joe had access to a Ruger Mini 14 over his old bolt action 22 to hunt something, he may have chosen that just because he didn't do that.
My great granddad probably drove a Ford Model T. I'm sure if a Ferrari existed in his time, he might have considered it. Yeah, he might have.
I own several muskets just because my ancestors used them to hunt deer back in the day. If it ain't 50 cal lead ball, you ain't shooting. Okay, well, lead poisoning, but no.
I shot hard cast lead to kill everything. Well, you can, but now there's expanding tips. There's all this wealth of technology, and
you also ate lead.
You painted your walls. The crib you slept in was painted in lead, and you huff gasoline until you're 12.
How much asbestos is in your attic?
How much asbestos is in your mouth right now?
Yeah, exactly. So, just to kind of wrap it up, Fudds are aplenty. We've run into several in our time, and another caveat too is you don't have to be an older, we'll say, gentleman to be a Fudd either.
No, there's young Fudds.
Yeah, they've learned from other Fudd. They're Fudd apprentices. So you can see this knowledge. It's my dad told me this. It's did your dad pick up a book? Did he ask a question or two?
There's nothing wrong with tradition, but don't be afraid to expand your horizons.
Broaden your mind.
Yeah.
It's not so scary out there once you start looking around. But Yeah.
Yeah. Don't forget to use our promo code BTBuddies. 15% off S&J Hardware. Awesome deal. Canada and US.
It's pretty sweet.
And in the meanwhile, like, subscribe, keep your sights fixed. I'm Fairly Tactical. Until next time.
Top 5 Fudd Facts. I guess, yeah, we'll say Fudd Facts, but the facts will be like in like